and welcome back for a deep interior cleaning on this Ford Expedition. This vehicle, as you can tell, has been heavily used by some children, kids, and such. So, I mean, they had like 4 or 5 kids, and they didn't have any floor mats in the vehicle. So, whenever you can use floor mats, it makes life so much easier. But when you don't have any floor mats, it makes life much worse when it comes to cleaning it. There's debris, there's plates, there's cookies, there's dirt, there's crumbs, there's everything across this interior. So a big portion of the detail is just vacuuming, getting into all the nooks and crannies, and just being very meticulous and detail in the nooks and crannies. If you're interested in the tools and products that I'm using, or you want to start your own detailing business, check all the links, guides, and resources down below in the description box, and we'll get into the video. As you saw in the befores, a majority of this, or a bulk of the work, is vacuuming all the debris and pet hair and crumbs and everything that's in there. So I'm using a combination of various brushes. So the primary one is going to be this drill brush with that red attachment. Again, links will be down below. I'm using a vacuum. The one I'm using is the Metro Vacuum Blow. I switched on over to a new vacuum. I've never really recommended this one. I just use it for the size. A stronger vacuum would have been much better. I'm using the bristle brush, as you see there, and a Lily pet hair brush, which you'll see throughout the video. But those are the primary brushes that I'm using to lift everything up from the carpeting. If you wanted to, you could use an air compressor or some type of blower and blow out the debris out of the vehicle, just whatever you can get out, the crumbs, the loose debris. I personally just don't choose to do that because then I'm just pushing that debris onto the customer's driveway. So I get rid of it. I don't really get rid of it. I just move it somewhere else. So that's why I try to vacuum everything first, and then towards the end, or depending on on a few elements or factors, I will use a blower, but that's after I've already vacuumed a majority of the debris inside the vehicle. So a big tip to everyone that wants to keep their car clean, but they have kids or pets and such, it's literally just having, like, let's say WeatherTech floor mats help out a lot, just so it doesn't directly touch the actual carpeting of the vehicle. If they had some very cheap floor mats, it would have saved me a lot of time, and it wouldn't get their car as dirty because there's something capturing all that. Granted, with 4 or 5 kids, a couple dogs, I mean, it's almost inevitable. But doing some small things like that would help out a lot. And honestly, I could have just thoroughly vacuumed the carpeting and the entire interior, wiped all the panels and seats down, and it would have looked still 10 times better, because the bulk of the mess, the bulk of what was making the car look so bad was just having all the debris on the ground. Now, granted, that's not really an option you'd want to give to a customer or anything, but if you're doing this just as yourself, like your own vehicle, and you just want to do something but not do everything, I mean, it's literally just vacuuming and wiping down the dust, and you'd be looking a lot better. And finally done with the majority of the vacuuming. Now we're gonna move on to the leather seats. I'm using super clean diluted 10 to 1 with the Chemical Guys leather brush. This is by far one of my favorite brush at this moment of leather for leather cleaning. I've used 4 or 5 in the past, and this one just really stuck with me. And I have like 3, 4 in my arsenal. Now it's time to tackle what baby Picasso left behind in the cup holders, and that's obviously a bunch of crayons. Using a steamer here makes life so much easier, because you basically just kind of melt it down and scoop it up, as you saw there. After I'm done here, I discard that towel and throw it away in the trash. Like, I'm not using it again. And if you didn't have a steamer, you could still do it. It just would take a lot more time, because it is dry and caked onto the material. But if you can heat it up, it does help out a lot. And you don't need an expensive steamer. Like, using even a smaller unit like the McCulloch 1285 or something like that, just to get heat into onto the surface helps out significantly, compared to just using an APC and a brush. Not sure what that stain is there. I mean, it's some type of food, beverage, or something. This isn't the best shot. I kind of just put the camera down, hoping I'd get a good shot. But I'm just using the steamer with no head, with no attachment to it. I'm just using like the straight stream that it comes out of the nozzle, and I'm agitating around the carpeting and the stain and the actual metal handle there. And with just a little bit of work, I mean, it did a great job. And this was also a big portion of the detail of just chasing all the small areas, the small pockets, intricate areas, nooks and crannies, the what you really don't see, which, and there really shouldn't be food or debris there. And you know, like as I work along the entire interior, I'm pushing all that debris back out. So as much as I vacuumed, it's gonna get just as bad again because there's so much debris everywhere that keeps on getting blown out. But with the steamer, it does do a great job, as you can tell. Without a steamer, like in this specific detail, it would make life a lot more hectic and it would take a lot more time. With this one, like, you would want a steamer. You could most definitely get away with not using one, but it just speeds up the process so much. On this detail, I specifically stayed with the steamer on cleaning the carpet. I didn't use the extractor just because there wasn't really that many stains, so to speak, as if, like, you know, something spilled. It was more just crumbs, and like it was just efficient and effective to use a steamer instead of an extractor. So when it comes to steaming the carpet, I don't use a towel. I'll just put the triangle head and steam it that way, just because in my head, the way I'm looking at it is I'm spraying the APC, the triangle attachment on the steamer serves as my brush, and the heat is just an added benefit to the cleaning. So that's why I don't put a towel over the triangle head, and I'm not putting that much moisture or steam or water down, and I'm moving the steamer pretty quickly, so it's not like I'm actually gonna do any damage or burn anything or overly soak it. So this video is actually in the order that I detailed it. So I was going from carpeting to leather seats, but just working in sections. Like I mentioned in the last video, there's not really like an exact, you know, scientific specific method I've developed. It really comes down to the condition and what I think is going to be the best way to go about cleaning the vehicle. And if we're being completely honest here, at this point in the detail, I was very frustrated because I think it was like hour 4 or 5 already, and there was still so much work to be done because I kept on finding more and more stuff that I had to clean, vacuum, or wipe down. So I hadn't eaten, I hadn't taken a break, and there was still like 3 or 4 more hours to go. And like I mentioned, there was a possibility of rain and such, so things were just not going in my way on this one. And on top of that, I was still trying to record, so I was just like really frustrated at this time. Just to let you know that, you know, it's not always a happy, joyful detail because it is still work. So just want to remind everyone that it's still a task that needs to be done, and sometimes it doesn't go in your way as much as you want it to, and that's okay. Although it wasn't too dirty on the actual dashboard and center console, just because there's so much to cover, it takes quite a bit of time. And big picture thinking, like it actually looks like it wouldn't take that long because like, you could just wipe it down, and it's very true, But because you have to go, it's so detailed orientated, and there's so many little nooks and crannies. It does end up taking a little bit of time. Granted, you speed things up with the steamer and such, and it does help out a lot, as you can tell. But it is still very nuanced that you have to follow and go through a lot of things and so many surfaces to clean. So and as you move along, as I moved along here, and I saw it like in different perspectives, or like later on when I was checking underneath, I saw more things that need to get cleaned and touched up. So it's very straightforward, but it's just a lot of things you have to cover here. And as you can see, I'm only using but 3-4 brushes: the steamer, those 2 Detail Factory brushes, and maybe like I used the bristle brush, and maybe that yellow brush here and there. But overall, just 3 or 4 brushes in APC. And other than that, that's really, I mean, you can use like a tornador or a bigger steamer, but other than that, that's really all you need to do a very detailed job on the door panels and on the dashboard and center console. And here we are on the results. Unfortunately, it was already dark by the time I started recording, so I have to use my LED light. It looks a bit funny, my bad, but it just took a while to work on this. Overall, the customer was extremely happy with the results, because given the condition that that we started off with to where it's now, he couldn't be more happy. I highly recommend he gets floor mats, because that would have changed a lot of things. But given there's 4 or 5 kids, and it's almost inevitable for this to really happen. The seats were conditioned with Wolfgang leather conditioner, I believe. I didn't record. I could have gotten a lot more, but I didn't, because I had so many factors against me on this one. I still touched up a few things like those the pedals. I touched those up, and a few areas. Once I recorded and I saw some things, I went over and touched them up again. But other than that, go ahead and leave a comment, like this video, let me know your feedback, concerns. If you're interested in those tools and products or guides, check the description box down below, and I will see you on the next one. Enjoy the remaining of the video.